Okay, let's journey to the Mekong, one of the most incredible rivers on the planet. But deep in its waters, there's something lurking, a tiny parasite with a seriously complex life. For years and years, it caused this mysterious, awful illness for people living nearby. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this biological mastermind, the split-body worm.
So, here's where the mystery really begins. The first cases popped up way back in 1957. And get this, for more than 20 years, scientists were convinced they knew what it was. They thought it was a parasite that's pretty common in other parts of Asia, but they were wrong. The symptoms, the patterns, it all just didn't quite fit. That kicked off a massive hunt for the real culprit.
And here it is, meet Schistosoma mekongi. You know, its name actually tells you a ton about it. Mekongi, that's easy, right? It's a shout out to its one and only home, the Mekong River. But the first part, schistosoma, that's from the Greek for split body. And this is where it gets really cool. It's because the male worm actually has this groove running down his body, and he literally holds the female in there. They stay paired up for life. Pretty wild, huh?
All right, so let's get a bit technical. Where does this little guy fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, a lot of people hear parasite and think of a tiny, single-celled thing, a protozoan. But nope, not this one. Schistosoma mekongi is a metazoan, which means it's a full-on, complex, multi-celled animal. It's a flatworm, part of the fluke family. And here's the key thing. It's an endoparasite. That means its entire adult life happens inside its host.
So you have to be asking, how does this tiny worm pull off such a complex survival plan? It's not just a simple infection. It's more like a super elaborate heist. And the whole thing hinges on a tale of two hosts. It absolutely cannot survive without both of them.
Okay, let's meet the partners in this crime. First up, us, humans. We're what's called the definitive host. Basically, we're the five-star hotel where the adult worms get together and reproduce. And then there's this tiny little freshwater snail, Neotricula aperta. It's the intermediate host. And this snail, it's both the parasite's secret weapon and its biggest weakness. Without this specific snail, the whole operation just falls apart. You've got to see how this life cycle works. It's incredible. So it all starts when eggs from human waste get into fresh water. Those eggs hatch into tiny larvae that have one mission: find that snail. And once they do, this is the crazy part, inside that one snail, a single larva becomes a copying machine. It reproduces asexually and churns out thousands of new infectious copies called cercorea. These little guys have forked tails, swim out into the water, and can burrow into human skin in just seconds. And boom, the cycle starts all over again.
So once they're inside a human, just how busy are these worms? Well, that brings us to this number, 95. A single female worm, tucked away safely with her male partner, lays about 95 eggs every single day. Now think about this. These worms can live for 5, maybe even 10 years. The math is just staggering. You can see how quickly those eggs can build up inside a person.
Okay, this right here is probably the single most important thing to understand about this disease. It's a total game changer. The adult worms, they're basically invisible. They are masters of disguise, hiding from your immune system for years. So the sickness, the symptoms, it's not the worms. It's your own body's massive, over-the-top reaction to the eggs they leave behind.
Just look at this image. That's an adult worm, right there, inside human tissue. See how it just blends in? It's the perfect hiding spot. Now, while some of its eggs manage to exit the body to keep the cycle going, a whole lot of them don't. They get swept away in the bloodstream and end up stuck in places like the liver or the intestines. And every single one of those trapped eggs is like a little red flag for the immune system.
So the infection plays out in 3 main stages. First, just hours after the parasite gets in, you might get a little rash called swimmer's itch. Then, a few weeks later, when the worms start producing their first eggs, you can get slammed with this intense flu-like sickness called Katayama fever. But the really scary part is the chronic phase. This can sneak up on you over months or even years as your body is locked in this long, damaging battle with all those trapped eggs. Let's zoom in on that acute stage, Katayama fever. You have to think of it less like a standard infection and more like a huge, system-wide allergic reaction. We're talking fever, coughing, stomach pain, diarrhea. Your liver and spleen can actually swell up. And if you looked at a blood test, you'd see this massive spike in certain white blood cells called eosinophils, which is a total giveaway for a parasitic invasion. So what's actually happening during that chronic phase that causes all the damage?
Well, for every single egg that gets stuck somewhere it shouldn't be, like the liver, the immune system goes into defense mode. It builds a wall of immune cells around the egg to trap it. This little wall is called a granuloma. It's a smart idea, but the problem is it causes constant inflammation. And that inflammation leads to scarring, what doctors call fibrosis. Over years, that scar tissue just builds and builds, eventually choking off blood flow and leading to really serious organ damage.
This is where the story gets a modern twist. You think this is just a local problem, right? I mean, the endemic zone, the place where this parasite actually lives, is this tiny little stretch of the Mekong and parts of Cambodia and Laos, super specific. And yet, because we all travel so much now, cases are showing up all over the globe. And that creates a huge puzzle for doctors in, say, Europe or North America who've probably never even heard of it.
Right. So let's take a country like the Netherlands. This disease doesn't exist there naturally at all. It's purely an imported problem, something they see in travelers or migrants. And while this specific Mekong version is less common than the African ones, think about it. With so many people backpacking through Southeast Asia, doctors in Amsterdam have to keep it on their radar. Someone walks in with a fever and says they just got back from a trip where they went swimming in the Mekong. Ding, ding, ding. It's a real challenge to diagnose.
And figuring it out isn't easy, because there's no single perfect test. It's like a diagnostic puzzle. You can look for eggs in a stool sample, but that's not very sensitive, especially for a traveler who might have a light infection. You can do a blood test for antibodies, which is great, but it'll stay positive even after you're cured, so it can't tell you if the infection is active right now. Then you've got fancier molecular tests, but they're not always available. It really comes down to the doctor being a detective and choosing the right combination of tools for the job.
Okay, but after all that complexity, here is some really good news. The treatment is surprisingly simple and effective. There's one main drug, it's called praziquantel, and it works against all the different types of schistosomiasis. Now, how it's used is different. So in a place like the Netherlands, a doctor would give it to a single patient who came back from a trip. But in Cambodia and Laos, it's the main weapon in these huge community-wide campaigns to treat everyone.
And that really gets to the heart of it. You can't just throw pills at the problem and expect it to go away. To really get on the path to elimination, you have to attack it from all sides. Yes, you need the mass drug treatments, but you also have to control the snail population. You have to improve sanitation so the eggs can't get back into the water, and you have to educate people about the risks. It's a huge coordinated effort.
But here's the thing, the story doesn't end here. The fight is evolving. Researchers are looking to the future, and they're worried. Why? Because things like massive dam construction and climate change are changing the Mekong River itself. The fear is that these changes could actually create new places for that host snail to live, which could let the parasite spread into areas where it's never been before.
Wow, we have covered a lot today. And just so you know, all the information for this explainer was put together using a Gemini deep search. If you're curious and want to check out the studies and articles for yourself, we've put a complete list of sources in the Notebook LM document. You can find the link for that down in the description.
So there you have it, the incredible, complex story of the split-body worm of the Mekong. It's amazing to think how one tiny organism can have such a massive impact on an entire region. It really makes you wonder what other hidden stories are out there in the natural world. What complex topics should we break down next? Drop your ideas in the comments below. And hey, if you like this, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for joining us.